What's going on, Diablo 2 fans? My name is Dubrunski, and today I'm bringing you another Diablo 2 character build video. Today we're going to be covering a budget Whirlwind Barbarian. I personally love this character. He's a blast to play, and I'm pretty sure the Barb was the very first character that I ever played in Diablo 2 way back when I was a beginner in this game. So guys, I hope you enjoy this video, but I'm going to cover his gear, the Mercenaries Gear, attribute points, and the skill tree, and then I'll wrap everything up with some gameplay. So guys, I really hope you enjoy this video. Let's jump in more detail now. So before I go over all the attributes, the skill tree, that kind of thing, I just wanted to cover some basics about the mechanic of Whirlwind in Diablo 2. I actually have a future video plan where I'm going to go into further detail, but I just wanted to cover 3 clear and simple points for you guys if you happen to be really new to Diablo 2 or new to the Barbarian. And the first one is that chance to cast on striking does not work with Whirlwind, okay? So if you plan on proccing like Life Tap from Drax Gloves, it's not going to work with a Whirlwind Barb, okay? That Life Tap proc is never going to go off. It'll go off with a Frenzy Barb, it'll go off with the Zealer Paladin, Fury Druid, but it's never going to go off with your Whirlwind Barb because chance to cast and striking never works, guys, with Whirlwind. So I wanted to make that clear. Number 2, the attack speed breakpoints for Whirlwind are based solely on the weapon only, okay? So if you have like High Lords, it's an awesome amulet for a Whirlwind Barb for the Deadly Strike, and the +1 to skills is nice. But the increased attack speed is not going to help you reach a further breakpoint. Same with like Laying of Hands or, you know, any other form of increased attack speed outside of the weapon is not going to help you. And the third one is I'm going to demonstrate it in the end there when we wrap up the build video when I go through the gameplay, but you want a Whirlwind in a triangle pattern with as short a whirlwinds as you possibly can to take advantage of the free hits. I think they're called the free 4th and 8 hit mechanic. It's kind of difficult to fully explain in this build video, but you don't want to be that guy that just whirlwinds back and forth in a long straight line, okay? Don't be that guy. Whirlwind around in a triangle around the monsters, and I will promise I'll show you that in more detail when I go through, wrap up the gameplay at the end of the video. So guys, I just wanted to make that crystal clear. Those are 3 important points about Whirlwind. So now let's take a look at the attribute points and all the other cool stuff. Like all my other Diablo 2 character build videos, the attribute point distribution is no different for this character. We're using the bare minimum amount of strength to equip the gear on this Barb, so that happens to be 175 with this character build because the 2 weapons that I'm using are ethereal Belrog blades. I don't know if they're like the best weapon base for budget Barb, but it's kind of what I went with. So you do need to invest 175 points in strength, which is a lot, but fortunate for the Barbarian, he has battle orders for his skills, so we can still boost the health up pretty high despite having such a high strength investment requirement. Now for Dexterity, I didn't invest any points into Dext. I think that I get enough Dexterity with the rest of my gear and attack rating, but you could sacrifice some points from Vitality and pump them into Dext, or you could run max block. But for this particular build, I just went with 2 weapons and no points into Dexterity, but I just wanted to put that out there that is an option. And then I just dumped the remaining points into Vitality, like all the other builds, max Vita. And as far as energy goes, I didn't dump any points in energy. You don't need to. You can get enough mana from Life Leech. I guess if you wanted to, you could put Insight on your Merc. I didn't for this build, but more on that later. But that basically sums up the attribute point distribution. Max Vita, Barbarian. So as far as the Warcry skill points go, it's pretty straightforward. This is just a generic budget Barb, but it's just a generic PVM monster killing Barb, so nothing niche like a Pit Zerker for magic finding or a Singer Barb, so no find item points, no Warcry, nothing like that. Just your generic standard Warcry skill tree. So 1 point into Howl, that's just to unlock the later skills. We maxed Shout, 310% boost to defense at level 22, that's awesome. Max battle order, so level 22, increase max life and mana by 98%, that's awesome. And then 1 hard point into battle command. Now when I'm buffing my Barb up, first I buff with battle command to boost the skill points, and then I buff with battle orders and battle shout, sorry. So that's pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. Kind of the generic Barbarian Warcry skill tree setup. I tailored the combat mastery skill tree a little bit differently than I would with a godly geared Barb, just specifically because this is a budget build, so I'll kind of go into that. First I maxed sword mastery, and that was just specifically because I'm using swords for my weapons, so say if I was using axes, polearm, etc., just switch up your mastery skill point for whatever weapon class you're using. Then I put 1 hard point in increased stamina, basically just to unlock the increased speed, 1 point in increased speed, 1 point into iron skin, and then I ended up actually dumping 2 extra points in a natural resistance, and that was just because this is a budget bar build, so I'm not using an Annie, I'm not using a torch, I just have a plain bare bones inventory. I could have dumped a bunch of like budget res small charms and stuff like that to cap my res, but I just didn't feel like doing that, so I'm just running a bare inventory. So I put a couple extra points into natural res to just boost the bar's resistances. If you're using godly gear, you'd really only put 1 hard point into it, because if you think at level 5 I have 44 resistance, if I was carrying a torch and an Annie, that would be more skill points on top of that, so 4 actually. So you don't really need to invest anything more than 1 hard point with a really good geared character, but for budget I just put a couple extra points into natural resistance. But that basically sums up the combat mastery skill tree. Alright, so the last skill tree to cover is the combat skill tree. It's really straightforward as well because we're a whirlwind barb, so you would kind of figure it out. Whirlwind, you're going to dump all your points into it, right? So 1 hard point into bash, 1 into leap, 1 into stun, 1 into concentrate, 1 into leap attack, all prereqs to open up whirlwind, and then I maxed whirlwind, and then I also put 1 point into berserk. Now berserk is magic damage, and that's how I handle physical immunes. My mercenary is using Reaper's Toll, so I do get the Decrepify proc, and that does handle the majority of physical immune monsters in the game, but for ones that it doesn't break, I use berserk, or sometimes it's kind of nice for just single target shot damage. So this character is actually only level 83, so I would guess as I progress kind of into 90 and the higher 90s, I would probably dump my remaining points into Iron Skin. I could maybe put a point into Find Potion and Find Item to maybe hork a couple corpses, but again, this particular bar build is just a generic PVM monster killing barb, it's not magic find, so I could maybe put extra points there. Or you could kind of play around with Battle Cry. Battle Cry is kind of cool, it reduces the enemy damage and defense, but I don't use Battle Cry in this particular build because it overrides the Decrepify Curse proc from the Mercenary, so that's why I wouldn't put any points personally, but that's kind of gives you an idea of some of the extra skill points, how you can invest them once you've maxed everything that I have in this particular character build. Okay, so now I'm going to break down the gear, the real juicy part that you guys like. Now remember, keep in mind guys, this is a budget barbarian. I want to start doing budget and godly character builds, so this is going to be the budget whirlwind barb. So guys, no high runes, no torch, no Annie, nothing like that, okay? Budget, this is a budget character, okay? Trying to make that clear disclaimer. So we'll start off with the gloves. Same like the Fury Druid build I just did recently. Laying of Hands. These gloves are just too good to not use on a melee character. 50% fire res, 350% damage to demons. Just amazing gloves. They're kind of like Fortitude on your hands. I would use these gloves on a godly build. For the rings, I'm using a rare ring that has 6 mana stolen per hit, 5 life stolen per hit. This is just an average ring, nothing crazy. I mean, a really good ring, you're going to have over 100 attack rating, maybe plus strength and some res. So again, we're sticking with the theme of budget. The other ring is Ravenfrost. Now this Ravenfrost is almost perfect, but I mean, any Ravenfrost will work, even a low roll, because we want that cannot be frozen. The dex and attack rating is really nice, but the key thing about this ring and for this build is the cannot be frozen. That's very important for a melee character. We're not a caster character doesn't matter, but for a melee character you have to have cannot be frozen. For the belts, I'm using String of Ears. This is an amazing budget belt. Again, this is a really good roll, but I mean, even a low rolled String of Ears is still going to do the trick. I get life stolen per hit, and the 15 damage reduction is awesome. Dungos is nice too, but in my opinion, I think for a PVM barb, String of Ears is better. That's just my opinion, guys. For the boots, again, Gore Riders, this was the same pair of boots I used on the Fury Druid build, but these boots are too good to not use on a melee character. 30 fast run walk, crushing blow, deadly strike, open wounds, everything that you need for a powerful melee character, and they're really not too rare, so they work really well for a budget barb. Now for the armor, I'm just using duress. Again, sorry to be on the same train as a Fury Druid, but it's the same armor that I use as the Fury Druid build. Duress is awesome, fast hit recovery, which isn't really too big a deal for Whirlwind Barb, Crushing Blow, Open Wound, some res, a little bit of enhanced damage. It's a really nice armor for a budget melee character. Then for the helmet, I'm using Ariat's Face. Now again, I mean, it depends on how budget you want to make the character. I could use something like a Steel Skull if I wanted to go real budget, but Ariat's Face isn't that rare and it is an amazing helmet, so I decided to use it. Combat skills, Barbarian skills, bonus to attack rating, life stolen per hit, 20 strength, 20 dex, a bunch of res. This one actually has the res broken up individually, 36 cold, and then 30 lightning, fire, and poison, because I have a rare jewel in it that gives a little bit of hit recovery, some enhanced damage, and a little bit of cold res. And for the amulet, I'm just using Cat's Eye. High Lords would be good. That would probably be the best in-choice slot, but again, we're a budget barb, so I went with Cat's Eye. Faster run walk, the dex is nice. The increased attack speed doesn't help us because we're a whirlwind barb, but that was kind of the amulet I went with. And then for the weapons, I'm using dual oaths and Belrog blades. Now, the cool thing about oath, it's kind of like the poor man's grief. It has the indestructibility mod, 50% increase attack speed, which for a Belrog blade, 50% increase attack speed helps us hit the final increase attack speed breakpoint for Whirlwind. So that's why I went with Oath. I mean, for a Shale, Pole, Mal, and Alum, I have a sword here that does, this one only does 78 to 397, but it rolled pretty low on the enhanced damage. This one rolled a lot better, 91 to 468, but just an amazing, amazing weapon to use on a budget barbarian. Now I decided to go with two of them, dual-handed whirlwind barb, because you're going to get more hits and more chances to proc your deadly strike and crushing blow. That's why I personally prefer to use two weapons versus one single sword or like a shield and a sword, so that's kind of my setup. And then on switch, I'm using a combination of, I like to use Harmony because you can run around faster. I don't have teleport or anything. Obviously no Enigma on a budget character, so the Harmony gives me the Vigor Aura, which helps me run around faster. And then I also have a Demon Limb in my stash, and I like to switch this out just specifically to cast the level 23 enchant, because that adds a huge boost to our attack rating. Now the thing is kind of a little bit of expensive to repair, but you can throw this in the Herodric Cube with an Ort Rune and any chip gem to repair the charges, but the enchant adds a significant boost to attack rating, so that's why I kind of swap back and forth between Harmony and Demon Limb. But that basically wraps up the gear. No Torch, no Annie, no 3/20/20 small charms, nothing like that. Again, sticking to the budget theme for this character build. So let's wrap up all the talking now by going over the Mercenaries Gear. Now this is honestly my go-to setup for any melee character build. I mean, it's super cheap and super effective. Treachery. Now, I didn't even make this Treachery in an E-bugged armor. It's just a regular Eth armor. That's why the defense is only 500 and not 1,000. But it really doesn't matter. If anything, I've actually had people argue that a lower defense Treachery is better because it's easier for him to get hit and to proc the fade. I mean, I'm not really picking a side on what's better, but I just went with a non-E-bugged Treachery for the 45% increased attack speed. Then the helmet is just a G-face with a plain 15% increase attack speed jewel. And then the weapon is Reaper's Tool with the Shell Rune. No, I went with the Shell Rune and the 15% increase attack speed jewel in the G-face because that combination with the Treachery helps the Mercenary hit the 75% increase attack speed breakpoint. It's the second highest breakpoint I think that the Mercenary can hit, so that's really important. And then I also wanted to go with Decrepify. I also want to go with the Reaper's Toll because of the chance to cast Decrepify and Striking, because the 50% reduction in enemy damage and enemy physical resistances is really going to help out this character because this is a budget character. I mean, I'm not using Grief, so anything helps. And it also helps remove the majority of physical immune monsters. The odd one I have to Berserk, but for the most part, this Reaper's Toll Mercenary setup does the job for me. And he's also a Nightmare offensive merc for the Might Aura that helps boost my damage. Sometimes I like to go with the Holy Freeze Mark for crowd control, but that's more of a caster thing. On this melee barb, I'm using the one that gives the Might Aura for more damage. Alright, so for this Chaos run, I'm just going to start where Diablo spawns, just to make the runs a little bit quicker. I don't want to kind of drag it out because I feel like I've been talking enough about this build. You guys kind of want to see the gameplay action by now. So, just going to jump to the River of Flame, buff up. Then I switch to Demon Limb, proc myself, my Mercenary, and then I'll switch back to Harmony. Now, one thing I should have noted when I was going over the gear, you can use 3-2 Warcry sticks from Akara, or bow sticks, whatever you want to call them. That is an option, so you can get +6 for your battle orders and stuff when you're buffing up. But I already have almost 3,000 health, and we're just players on budget, right? So I do like the faster run walk from the Harmony, but I just wanted to point that out there as a personal option, because I'm sure somebody will say something in the comments. So it is an option, but I just decided to not run with it. But now let's do this Chaos run. So this is what I was talking about. I guess kind of hard to do a really good example of it in the center here, but try whirlwinding. Run out of mana. So you're just holding a whirlwind down, and you're doing kind of short triangle formations. You don't want to be doing big, long whirlwinds like that. Oh, you run so slow with the Crepify. Okay, you basically just keep the whirlwind down, hold, short of whirlwind formations as you can. To be honest, whirlwind is kind of a clunky skill to begin with. And like, it is pretty tough to do like really nice whirlwind formations like that when they spawn all on the side of the lava. I think this barb's doing alright considering how budget it is. No torch, no Annie, no high runes. I think he's doing pretty good. I think he's holding his own. I still don't think he's as good as that Fury Druid, but that's I'm biased. I really like the Fury Druid. Down pretty good. Okay. Single target, Berserk. Berserk is really good for physical immunes. Well, amazing. I generally find that I don't actually run into too many physical immunes with the Mercenary, with the Crepify, but few mana pots. It is really annoying when you get hit with mana burn with this character. Decrepify. Act so slow. Run so slow. No. This ace can be nasty. He's always nasty. Almost always. For a melee character. Gotta get him with the right like if you get him with the right combination, like it's just good night, Irene.
Not even death can save.
This should go by pretty quickly. They run out of mana. All right, dead. There you have it, guys. Budget Whirlwind, Chaos, Players 1 difficulty, and Hell. Well, guys, there you have it. That was my Budget Whirlwind Barbarian build. I thought it was a pretty cool build. I didn't use a single high rune. I cleared Players 1 difficulty, Hell. I mean, we're not hammered in mode clearing, nothing like that, but I thought it was a pretty cool character. Whirlwind itself, the skill is kind of clunky. I'm sure I could get better at it if I practiced at it more, but I honestly prefer the Frenzied Barb, but I wanted to do a budget Whirlwind Barb, and eventually I do a godly character. I want to kind of do that for every class build, for every character down the road. But guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you could throw a thumbs up on it and consider subscribing to my channel if you're new to it, that would be great. I really appreciate the support. But guys, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on my next video or my next live stream. Peace out.